A therapist will teach them about I statements and they go home and say, well, I feel like you're a fucking asshole. That's not an I statement. Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for coming back. We're doing something that we've done before, but I'm really excited about it. You guys seem to like the last Grey's Anatomy video that I did, so we're doing it again. Somebody suggested in the comments, I will put their name up on the screen right now. Thank you for your suggestion. Somebody suggested we talk about Callie and Arizona's couples therapy sessions, which I am so excited about. I forgot that these even existed. I haven't watched these episodes in such a long time, so this was really fun to go back and watch. As a quick disclaimer, I don't really do couples therapy very often. I have done it, I do like it, but it just doesn't really come up very often. So please, be aware, by no means am I the authority on couples therapy, or really like on therapy generally. I'm just here to talk about it just from my own perspective. So there's that. Let's just get into it.
We've been talking about having another baby for months. We were excited. We were discussing frickin' names. Why would you do that? Just to get my hopes up?
You're attacking me for something that I never even said.
I didn't have to say anything. It's clear from everything that you do that you don't want this.
Okay, right off the bat, why are we standing? Why are we yelling at each other? I also love that the therapist is just sitting here taking notes while all of this is happening and staring at them like she's a bystander on the subway. Like, I'm not really sure what this setup is about, but if my clients were ever pacing and screaming at each other, I'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. We need to sit. We need to take an adult time out. Everyone needs to regulate their emotions before we continue, because therapy is not the place that we should be yelling at one another. The whole point of having a therapist is that they can help moderate the conversation and hold everybody accountable. And she's just like sitting.
Why start training all over again? You're an amazing pediatric surgeon. People cross the country just to have you operate on their
For the
kids.
last time, this fellowship is advancing my career.
Which is not advancing this family.
It's the moment in the OR when you turn to damage control.
Callie, actually, if I could stop you there, I'm interested to hear the rest of Arizona's sentence.
Now we're interested to hear the rest of her sentence. Not before, when we were like cutting her off and yelling at each other. Definitely not then, but now.
Arizona, you were going to say?
You stop. You step back. You let the body rest and see if you can find a solution.
Arizona, you ready?
I love when you talk to a patient and it's like they're the only person in the whole world. I love, you bite your lip. Just a teeny bit. It's barely noticeable when you study scans, and I find it really sexy.
Like, I understand the point of what they're trying to do here, but this feels like such a trope. Not that this is like super unrealistic. I could see this happening, but just like this whole trope of like couples therapy is only about telling each other the things that you love about each other. Like, I don't think that's the area that we have issues with here.
I love when you do the voices, when you read to Sophia at night and you make her laugh. And I could listen to that sound all day for the rest of my life. And you smile when you sleep, like big, like crazy.
Okay, see how her face shifted there? And the therapist is just like, no, now is the time that you would stop her and be like, hold on. Callie's having an emotional reaction to something that you said. Let's pause. Let's talk about what's going on here. Because her face totally shifted.
Big. And I love that when I wake up, that's the first thing I see. And I love...
See, why don't you just... God.
And also, I would like to point out that if the therapist had moderated the conversation and paused Arizona so that Callie could share what was going on with her, Callie would not have interrupted her, because it's really invalidating when your partner does it. But when a therapist does it, it feels like therapy and not like your partner is steamrolling you.
Callie, do you want to talk about how Arizona's words make you feel?
No therapist says shit like this. Do you want to talk about how her words make you feel?
Well, it's just, I if you just say this stuff out loud once in a while.
I would, if you'd let me.
Wait, what?
This is, again, a moment where we would pause and say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but let's rephrase. Let's talk about how we can frame this in a way that isn't blaming your partner, but expressing a need. I feel really loved when you say these things out loud, not you should say these things out loud more often.
Saying them right now, and then you cut me off. I mean, you're too busy trying to speak for me.
Okay, remember the
Because then we get the defensive reaction where somebody says, why are you trying to speak for me?
language we talked about using with each other.
I feel that you're always cutting me.
Well, I feel that you're...
So this is the thing with I statements. They are very cheesy and very like a trope of therapy, but they are very useful. However, the way that they're using I statements is like wrong. This is the thing with I statements that is tricky. The whole I feel and then you just say whatever you want to say after it, like that's not the point of an I statement. When we say I feel or I think or whatever, what we're trying to do is frame communication from our point of view and not point the finger at other people. So instead of saying I feel like you always interrupt me, saying like when I don't get to finish my sentences, it hurts my feelings. That's much more effective as an I statement because we're not blaming, we're not saying when you do this thing, and also avoiding the superlatives, the always, the never. That's not useful either. But this is a very common thing that people do where they say, you know, like a therapist will teach them about I statements and they go home and say, well, I feel like you're a fucking asshole. That's not an I statement. Like, please don't do that. I statements are meant to express literally how you feel, and there you really want to avoid using the words you or like again the superlatives, framing it from your point of view and saying when this thing happens, I feel this way.
Constantly accusing me
I
of
feel
this.
that you just did that again. She just did it again.
See? This is the tendency, and this is why it's so important to have the conversation about it, because just tacking on the words I feel to the front of a sentence does not make it any more healthy and does not make it any easier for your partner to understand what you're trying to say.
Let's try again.
And her saying let's try again is useless because they're going to do the same thing and just do it again. There really needs to be some instruction about how the way that you're phrasing that is not the way that's not the way that we want to be phrasing I statements. And again, I know that this is a TV show. It's not meant to be realistic, I guess. But I think the thing that irks me about this show is that they, you know, have talked in interviews about how they do so much research about how to portray the medical stuff accurately, but then like we do no research about how to portray therapy accurately. Although if the like doctor reacts videos are any indication, they don't really do a good job with portraying medical stuff accurately. Anyway, so maybe that's like on par.
It's not about the leg. It was never about the, it goes way before the leg.
4 years ago, I received the grant of a lifetime. Going to Africa, working in that clinic,
That was an opportunity that I never thought that I would get.
You followed your dream, you went.
but you were supposed to go with me, and you were miserable, and letting everyone know about it. And so I went without you, and then I came back for you. I came back for you.
Okay, so again with the standing and the yelling, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Also, look at this face that she's making. What is this face? This therapist looks like a fucking deer in headlights. Like she's shocked and horrified by what's happening, except instead of being the therapist in the room and saying, okay, let's take a break. Everybody needs to sit. We need to express things to our partner. Don't talk to me, talk to her. Talk to her in a kind way. Let's use the I statements. Let's regulate our emotions. She's just like gaping at these people. Like, what the fuck is going on?
And when I came back, you were
Pregnant? I'm bisexual. I'm attracted to both men and women, and it freaks her out. Yes, I slept with Mark. I got pregnant. I was pregnant, and
I had no time to process it. I was so in love with you. I just wanted to be with you no matter what. And if in order to be with you,
if you're about to say what I think you're about to say...
Let me get a word in, Callie.
I trapped you into a kid you never wanted, and now you're stuck.
Okay, this is a great opportunity for a therapist to jump in and say, hold on, let's not put words in people's mouth. Arizona needs to sit the fuck down. We need to talk to each other and we need to stop putting words in one another's mouth. And again, like, this is why having a therapist is useful, because when we are having these difficult conversations, it's really helpful on the front end for the therapist to say, okay, hear me out. Here's what we're going to do. Partner A is going to share the thing that's on their chest, the stuff that they're feeling, the thoughts that are in their head. This is their time. If they're phrasing it in a way that isn't appropriate or that's not the format that we've agreed on, that's my job to jump in and say, okay, hold on, let's pause. We need to rephrase that. Let's talk about how we can use an I statement there, blah, 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 whatever. But partner B, this is your opportunity to be the listener. This is your time to zip the lips and absorb the things that your partner is saying. You will get your chance to issue any objections or rebuttals or to share how you feel, to offer your explanation and your excuses and whatever it is. You will have your chance to air all of the things that are on your chest. But for the time being, this is your time to zip the lips. Your partner really needs you to hear them. And in order to do that, you can't be in your head thinking about the ways that you want to reply. Your job right now is solely to be listening. That's not happening here, which is why they're fighting.
Don't you ever say that I don't love my child or that I regret my child. I regret that you made a decision for me. You make all the choices.
Okay, see what's happening? She's screaming. Also, just like as an aside, in the pursuit of realism here, no therapist is gonna sit there and let their client scream like that, because like fucking hello, there are other people probably in this building who are renting offices that are listening to this lady pop off about how Callie makes all the choices. Like, no.
And every time that I try to make a decision for myself, it's like you make me feel like the worst, most selfish person in the whole world.
I'm sorry. Did I make you feel selfish when you decided to sleep with another woman?
Okay, see what's happening here? Again, we're like fighting with each other and we're doing the what about thing. But also, did you see how Arizona is looking at the therapist and like almost looking for permission or like for someone to be on her side? Bad sign. The number one thing that at least I always put out there at the beginning of couples therapy before we even have the first session is to clarify expectations. I am not here to take sides. I am not a referee. It is not my job to assign winner or loser or right or wrong. The purpose here is to have someone who is mediating a conversation and giving you guys and reminding you of the tools and techniques that you have mutually agreed to use. When we're looking at the therapist, like for someone to tell you that you're right, that's a bad sign that there's like some weird boundary stuff going on. That again, the therapist is not moderating. The therapist is just like watching the shit hit the fan and like, not good. This is not good.
I'm so sorry.
That's not what I meant. And you know that's not what I meant. I meant that any time that I try and do something for myself, you just...
And then also what happened here is that she used like a really big rupture in trust as ammunition against her partner to shut her down and to avoid being held accountable for the fact that she is being judgmental and not allowing her partner the space to make decisions. She just gaslit her partner, and the therapist was like, what am I gonna have for lunch today? I wonder what I'm gonna do later this evening. Like, Jesus Christ, that's never appropriate. If we're using past hurt as an excuse to justify our own shitty behavior, that's abusive, that's not appropriate, and the therapist's job is to shut that shit down immediately. And she just sat there with her ugly shoes and just let it go.
The session's not done yet.
Feels pretty done.
You're giving me things I didn't ask for, Callie.
That is not true. All I've done is everything that you've asked me to do. You asked me not to leave you after the plane crash. I didn't. You wanted me to stay after you cheated on me. I did. Then you wanted a house. We got it. I do everything for you,
There are so many superlatives in this argument, and again, we're standing and yelling at each other. But the like, I give you everything, I always, you never, this is a mess. And again, we're not adhering to any kind of like communication format here. There also doesn't seem to be any kind of formal exercises that we're completing. No like tools or techniques or discussions are happening. There's like no moderation happening here at all. And I understand the reason they did this is probably because they want their two like big actresses to be prominent in the scene. Like, I get that, but still, like,
Arizona, because I love you.
I love you too.
Well, and now we're here and I want something and you can't give it to me. You won't give it to me.
I never said that I didn't want a baby. The whole reason that we're here is because of you and what you want. I am trying to give you what you want, but you make it so hard.
Why can't you commit to anything?
I've committed the past 5 years of my life to you.
We're not getting anywhere.
yes, because you're not doing anything. Whew, I don't know. I also just really struggle with the insinuation that they're not getting anywhere because Callie and Arizona suck. Most times, if a couple is like really struggling to get any kind of meaningful progress, it's the therapist's fault. Try harder, try a different approach, do something else. And I'm also flabbergasted that there's not any like individual appointments happening here. It's not uncommon for a couples therapist to have the initial consultation or like the initial appointment with the couple, and then one-on-one appointments with each of them afterwards, and then to revisit the couple situation. So I think this whole setup is just kind of odd.
We've circled right back to where we started. It may be time to hit the reset button.
Great. Let's reset. How?
Have you ever considered spending some time apart? Because a break can
You
actually...
mean a separation? No. We're trying to save our marriage, not destroy it. I don't want to do that.
Let her finish.
Don't think of it as a separation. You two have gone through so much. You're completely different people than when you first got together. It can be helpful to rediscover who you are.
Oy vey. So there's a whole lot of weird stuff going on here. I don't know that I would ever advocate for my clients to separate from one another, but even if I did, this is the thing. Couples therapy, individual therapy, group or family therapy, doesn't matter. In order for a client to make meaningful progress, they have to be bought in. I hate this trope that therapists will just insist that a client do something and like tell them just trust the process. Like, no, there's not supposed to be some like mystery outcome or like secret plan that your therapist has that they just force you to do this thing, and then at the end everyone makes a self-discovery and it's like, wow, I should have trusted my therapist all along. No, you as the client have to be invested in what's going on, and you have to feel comfortable with any action plan that your therapist lays out for you. And so this whole like thing where the therapist is kind of pushing this idea, and Callie is clearly like vehemently opposed to this, and the therapist is just like, well, don't think of it that way. Like, just don't. This is not appropriate.
Take a break from one another.
Break, separation's the same thing. It's the first step to divorce. This is what you want.
This is what you finish.
Look, in my experience, couples come to therapy for one of two reasons. Either one person wants out of the relationship and they need help telling the other, or they both desperately want to make it work.
That is a vast oversimplification. And again, did you hear what she said about that's the first step to divorce? That would have been a great opportunity to be like, okay, table that idea, chuck that out the fucking window. Let's talk about what's going on there, because that to me sounds like fear. Sounds like you're afraid of divorce. Does that feel true? Obviously they're going to say yes, and then we can talk about why you're afraid of divorce. We can open a conversation about like, okay, so if you're afraid of divorce, what page are we on as partners individually? Like, Arizona, are you afraid of getting a divorce? Let's open that conversation. Let's talk about that, because that is like pulling for that, they call it change talk, but like pulling for this rhetoric of like why you want to stay in the relationship. But instead she's like, no, take a break.
We want to fight to make it work.
Well, we want to make it work, right?
Right.
And a break is not an end. A break.
And that right there, again, like that's super obvious and very like overplayed. But like Arizona clearly just had this moment where she was like, oh, I'm the partner who wants to get out of this relationship and doesn't know how to say that. And the therapist is just like, okay, let's just blow right past that one. Like, again, that's a good opportunity to be like, you paused. What's going on? Seems like you're having an emotional reaction. Let's talk about it. And we're just like we're not gonna address that at all, I guess.
Is a tool to help make it work for an agreed upon time, and then we come together and reevaluate the relationship.
No, I don't like it. I don't know. I think it's crazy. I'm sorry, I do. I mean, we're supposed to be getting closer, so what, we need more space? No, we need more time together, not apart. That's how you make things work, right? No break, right?
I think we should take a break.
This is also a masterclass in how to annihilate your therapeutic relationship, because Callie in this situation, I would imagine, feels ganged up on, and like everyone else is like pro break, and she's the only one who's having her voice not heard, which is not okay, because now she probably doesn't trust the therapist, and she's gonna get angry and like be mad at her therapist. And like, not that there's anything wrong with being mad at your therapist, that's always, you know, okay. But what she's doing is like what she's doing is sowing seeds of doubt and like distrust in the therapeutic relationship, and that's not helpful at all.
How long will the break last?
As long as you'd like. We decide that now.
Okay, 30 days?
30 days, a month? You need a break from me for a whole month?
This is the other issue with letting the client just pull a number out of thin air, because now see what happened where Callie's mad at Arizona. Instead of being upset about the situation, the therapist could have said, some people choose to do a break for 2 weeks or 30 days or 3 months. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. So why don't we talk about what feels feasible and doable? But no, she just said, just pick a number.
Arizona, you want to say something, now is the time.
Callie, I was trying to be nice. I don't even think that'd be enough. I mean, if I thought you'd go for it, maybe 3 months, 6 months.
Oh my God, 6 months?
I'm trying to be honest. I want to save us, but the only way that I know how to do this is by being honest.
This feels like a joke. Or a reality show. The Real Lesbian Housewives, MD of Seattle.
Why is the therapist not jumping in? Clearly we have like hurt feelings, lots of fear, and like lots of fear about being honest. And the therapist, again, is just like doing nothing.
Fine, 30 days. How does it work?
You have a child. So, for her sake, you two will live in the house as parents, but with separate lives, separate rooms. Boundaries are vital. Make a schedule for childcare responsibilities and stick to it. No talking. No communication except in emergencies. Lastly, this is important, no intimacy, no sex. With other people or with each other.
So again, this is weird. I have never heard of this. I'm sure that this is something that other therapists have done with couples counseling, but it seems weird to me that the therapist is setting the rules, and it really just plays into this trope of like a therapist who has some like secret understanding that she's not sharing with her clients. We really should be communicating about what the goals are, what feels feasible and doable for the clients, and like framing this whole conversation from their point of view.
So then what did you do?
I followed the rules. Your rules, by the way, they suck.
A, why is the music from Stranger Things in here? B, this is what I was talking about. Now she's mad at the therapist and doesn't trust her and thinks that her rules are stupid, which again, there's nothing wrong with being mad at your therapist. I tell my clients all the time, if you're mad at me, that's cool, I can take it. Like, we can talk about that. But she's mad at her therapist because her therapist is annihilating their therapeutic relationship, which is not a good sign.
So you broke the rules?
No, we stopped. We didn't have sex. We kissed and somehow stopped. I mean, she'd had that big surgery with Dr. Herman that day, and all I wanted to do was ask her how it went.
We didn't have sex.
Close enough.
Well, I wish that we hadn't stopped. So what happens now?
In order for this to work, you have to follow the rules for the full 30 days.
See, this is what I'm saying. Why don't you communicate to your clients, we're just going to mind our own business for 30 days and see what comes up, okay? In order for this to work, everyone has to be on the same page and agree to abide by these rules. If we break the rules or, you know, we like lapse, then we'll start the clock over again. But instead of doing that, she just like waited until they fucking broke the rules and is like, surprise, bitch, I'm pulling the rug out from underneath you.
You don't mean it.
We broke the rules again.
So you had sex?
No. When she didn't come home, I thought that she was sleeping with someone else, which is against the rules. And also, the idea really, really bugged me. And then when I thought, well, if she's not doing that, then what if she's not okay? Because that bugged me even more. So I made her talk to me. I know that we're not supposed to, but we still live in the same house, so I know when you don't come home.
Okay. She was jealous.
But see, in my opinion, that's a useful conversation to have. And even though they're not supposed to be talking to one another, I don't see why we couldn't have said, okay, we're gonna have bi-weekly sessions or monthly sessions or whatever, where you guys are coming in and talking to each other. Anything that you're wanting to communicate, thoughts that you had, like maybe keep a journal of the things that are coming up for you emotionally, and we can have that conversation between the two of you in session so that you guys aren't just not speaking for a solid 30 days, but just so that we're not doing the thing where we're nipping at each other all the time. That seems like it could have been a really useful conversation, but it's against the rules, so we're just not talking about it, I guess.
Like, irrationally. Obviously jealous. Do you know how that feels to have someone be jealous?
That judgmental face makes me so fucking mad. The whole, rude, don't make that face at your fucking clients.
To be worried that you're cheating? It feels nice.
Well, it's not the healthiest.
No. I just mean she...
That bothers me so much. Well, it's not the healthiest. Like, you set up this dynamic, bitch. You set this up. And also, like, that's very human. To feel happy that your partner is jealous of you potentially spending time with other people, especially in a relationship that's all cattywampus, that feels very human. Of course that feels good. Like, validate that.
She was worried about me. She cared. Does that mean this thing might actually be working?
I understand why we did this. You know, it was to make us stronger, to make us better. And it did. I mean, I feel like it really did.
This is what bothers me. The client shouldn't understand why we did this only at the end. This is, again, something that they should have understood the purpose, the intention, the desire from the jump.
It took a long time, and it was painful, and it sucked, but we've come a long way. And I know that we have further to go, but I love you, Calliope. I love you. Life without you terrifies me. And the world is just making less and less sense. And like, I don't even know what I'm doing at work anymore. But the thing that I need is my anchor. It's you. I need you. And you're the only thing that I will ever need. And I'm so glad that this break is over.
Love that the therapist is just sitting there doing nothing instead of offering some kind of validation and saying, Callie, you're crying. Clearly you're emotional. Talk to me about what's coming up for you. Just nothing. We're just gonna sit there.
The last 30 days have taught me so much. And all I wanted when we first came here was to know that we would leave together. But from the minute I sat down, I could feel it. I felt like I was gonna be suffocated. The last several weeks, I have laughed more. I have done more. I've enjoyed myself more than and I finally feel free. And by being free, I can see now that constantly trying to fix us is the thing that's been killing me slowly. And I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to fix it or fix us anymore.
This therapist really just avoided eye contact with her client. Arizona is obviously shocked, looking at this therapist like, what the fuck is happening? And the therapist just goes, like, bitch, what? You're supposed to be supportive. Oh my God.
Maybe instead of loving you so hard, I should be myself for a while. I should love me, and you should love you, and together we love Sophia rather than... I want so much for you, Arizona, for both of us. So much more than this. More than being stuck with someone who feels stuck. I want you to feel free too.
This therapist is just sitting there like, she looks like sad, which is also odd because you shouldn't be personally emotionally involved in your client's emotions and like relationships, but also like, say something, bitch.
Some things just can't be fixed.
This is the other thing. Callie routinely just leaves the session and the therapist is just like, what you gonna do, baby? Like, what the fuck? You can't do that. Obviously, clients are welcome to leave whenever, but if your client is getting to the point where they feel so unsafe and so dysregulated that they're just dipping, we need to have a conversation about that. And especially afterwards, we need to sit down and have a conversation about expectations, how we can make our partner and ourselves feel safe. Because if you're just gonna dip from that conversation, that's manipulative, because what you're trying to do is control the rhetoric and refuse to allow your partner to speak, which seems very on brand for Callie anyways. But just like, this whole thing is a mess. Please, if you are considering going to couples counseling and you saw this and you were like, never mind, this is not what it's supposed to be like. We don't claim her. I know that this therapist is just an actress, but like, she's not one of us. This show was always an adventure. Someone else suggested that we review the therapy sessions in like season 7, I believe, after the big traumatic event that happens at the hospital. So I did clip those. We're gonna film that and talk about it another time. So stay tuned if you wanna see that one. But in the meantime, if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we do stuff like this and other educational content, fun stuff. I would love to have you stay and like join the community. It's pretty fun here. So yeah, and then share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow. And I will see you next Saturday. Okay, bye.